G'day guys, yo mate, Big J here, and welcome to another edition of Aussie Boxing Talk. The show literally punches you right between the fucking eyes. So, new subject, I'm going to be doing a year in review. So what I'm going to be doing is pretty much going through every year in review. I know I'll do the monthly thing, and actually March is coming up soon. I mean, what is it, 21st today? So I'll be doing the month in review, but I decided to start a year in review because I looked at 2022, and 2022, I believe, I'm going to be doing 2022 today. I believe 2022 is the greatest year in Australian boxing history, bar none. It has not been seen before or again. I mean, I know it's only not even just a touch over 3 years since 2022, all the wonderful things that happened in Australian boxing for 2022. All right. But I believe that 2022 is a year that has not been seen before, nor likely to be seen again in quite a long time. All right, so I'm going to go through exactly what happened in 2022. I mean, it was only a couple of years ago, right? So I'm pretty sure most people watching this will remember exactly what happened in 2022. Some people might have even been to these events in 2022. 2022 was a hell of a year, right? And I'd like to go over it because I think it's the best year Australian boxing has ever had, and it might not be seen again for a long time, if ever. Right, so we'll start. What happened in 2022? Multiple world title, not just fights, but wins. So we'll start with the big dog, which is obviously George Kambosos Jr. So George Kambosos Jr., obviously after winning all the significant titles with the exception of one, in 2021, after he defeated Teofimo Lopez, had his undisputed fight, right, with Devin Haney for the undisputed lightweight championship. So that's the WBC title. I know that George had the franchise, but Devin Haney had the real belt. The WBC lightweight, WBA lightweight super, the IBF, the WBA, and Ring Magazine. So all 5 belts were on the line. Was it 4th? Anyway, I think it was the 4th of June 2022. I think that's right, because I should know I was there. I actually had the privilege to go to that fight. Get my press pass, got to watch that fight live. And it wasn't that great because Devin Haney gave George a boxing lesson, but that's all right. So, undisputed. This is the first time that an Australian defending champion had competed for undisputed. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, what about Kostya back in 2003? Remember, Kostya's a Russian, Kostya's not Australian. And he actually fought Jesse James Linger, I think his name was, in the same, it was Telstra Dome back then, but at the point it was Marvel Stadium. So, fantastic. It was like 42,000 people, which was the second biggest crowd Australia's ever seen for a world title fight. Obviously, Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn being the biggest at touch over 55,000. So, a fantastic, I mean, I was there, the atmosphere was just fantastic. I mean, the only problem was it was too big. Even though you had 40,000 people there, you got to remember that Marvel Stadium is for the AFL, and those AFL footy fields are huge. They're 200 metres long. They got a diameter of 200 metres. So if you weren't actually on the footy field watching it, you were way back and you couldn't really see anything. So, but anyway, the atmosphere, the build-up, they had the press conference at the Richmond Rowing Club, which was across the road, and everyone was squeezing it like sardines. Geez, it was funny. If you go back and watch the videos on T Street, I was actually asking a question. My voice gave out. I couldn't believe it. Here I am, the biggest stage ever, and my voice just conked. I'm like, you're kidding me. And I copped that for months, I can tell you. But George Kambosos Jr. having an undisputed world title fight, not once but twice, because obviously in October, the rematch, I think it was about the 16th of October. Once again, I had the privilege to be there at Rod Laver Arena, so one of Australia's most famous tennis arena. In front of another crowd of 14,000 people. So, to have the 2 most significant fights in Australian boxing history, right, only mere 4 months from each other, fantastic. I mean, that alone would be a huge year for Australian boxing, but it gets better. You may remember that Ebony Bridges actually won her IBF Bantamweight title from Maria I can't remember the Argentinian girl's name now, but she beat the long-term, I think Cecilia was her last name, the long-term reigning champ. I think the champ was reigned for like 7 years. Ebony beat her convincingly. And then Ebony went on to defend that title against Shannon O'Connell in England for the All-Aussie. First time that two Australian females were competing. Actually, no, not the first time. But certainly, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, All-Aussie female fights. And it wasn't even in Australia. That's what really annoyed me, is that Ebony's fighting Shannon. So you got Queensland versus New South Wales for a world title, and it's in England. It was on December 10th in England. Cecilia Ramone. Maria Cecilia Ramone was the champion's name. Ebony won the title, I think, it was March 26th, because Tim Zeus fought that same day against Terrell Goucher. And then she defended it, I think, 10th of December. It was just before Christmas in 2022. So, there you've got the biggest female world title fight, or one of the biggest female world title fights. I mean, Shannon O'Connell's been in the two biggest Aussie on Aussie world title fights against Ebony, and 8 years prior was Dinah Prozac for the WBC super featherweight. So Shannon O'Connell, great career. So Ebony had won a title and then defended it in an all-Aussie fight in England, something that you think you'd never see. You got two Australians fighting in England. Madness, but anyway. So then we've got, obviously, Shanika Johnson, who won her world title 20th of April 2022 on the Mick Zarafa Isaac Hyman card in Melbourne. It was actually at the Melbourne Entertainment and Convention Centre. That was my first ever event that I ever went to, representing T Street. So she won the vacant title against the Mexican girl, whose name I cannot remember. And then she actually went on to fight Susie Ramadan in her first defence on the undercard to Haney Kambosos 2. So that card was, because both Maloney twins were on that card, Susie versus Shanika, and go and watch Susie versus Shanika. That fight had everything. Cuts, knockdowns, controversies. Doctor was going to stop it, which he should have, because it would have went to a technical draw. That fight, I mean, Shanika suffered one of the worst cuts I've ever seen in female boxing and just kept going. So, I mean, Shanika showed a ton of guts just going through that. The cornerman deserves every bit of praise he got, because that, you'd think that cut, they wouldn't have stopped it, but they did. They controlled it, and she went on. That, I think the cut happened in round 2. And we were screaming, because I remember I was there, we were screaming at the doctor, stop the fight, don't stop the fight, don't stop the fight. And now, in retrospect, I wish he did. So, but anyway, knockdowns, doctor's controversies, cuts, cornermen doing a great job. That fight had everything. I mean, forget the fact that the IBF 122-pound title was on the line. That fight had everything. Go back and watch it. It's actually real pleasure to watch. And then, of course, the other big fight of the year, getting the upset of the year, Jai Patai defeating Britis. I think it's Matteo Britis. Britis for the IBF Cruiserweight title, and Jai's obviously been champion ever since. So, the two biggest, most significant fights, undisputed fights by an Aussie in Australia, the two biggest women-on-women's fights that you could find, right, and the upset of the year. And that's not including also all the other stuff that happened. Tim Tszyu went overseas on his American debut, got a good win. Yeah, got knocked down in the first round, got back up and destroyed Terrell Goucher for like the next 10 rounds. The Maloneys got good wins. Lucas Brown knocked out Junior Farr in like a round. I think it was on the Haney Kambosos undercard, the first one. Yeah, he was, because I was there at that one, at that fight. He knocked out Junior Farr in a round. Was it Junior Farr? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Junior Farr that he knocked out on the Haney Kambosos number 1 card. So, I mean, 2 undisputed world title fights, 2 of the biggest female fights that you could lay your hands on, and the upset of the year in 2022. I don't think there's going to be... Now, the only year that I can think of that off the top of my head that even comes close to that sort of achievement is 1985. Because you remember 1985, Jeff Fennick won his first title, Lester Ellis won his first title, Barry Michael versus Lester Ellis. I think, and all that happened within, before the end of July. So all that happened within about 4 months of each other, because I'm pretty sure 5 months, because I think Lester won his title in February of 1985, and then he fought Barry like 5 months later. So I think 1985 would probably be the only year to contest. Just off the top of my head, 2022, but I'm interested to hear, and I'm going to do a lot of research on each year in boxing to see. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of significant fights out there that I've missed. There's probably fights, I think maybe Didi Hobbs got a world title fight in 2022 that I forgot. But I don't think 2022 is ever going to be repeated, because not one but two undisputed fights, the upset of the year and the two most significant female fights you can get on Australian soil, or have two Aussies fighting over. I don't think that's going to be repeated again for a long, long time. I mean, we might get Kay Scott versus Deadly Robinson, number 3 for undisputed middleweight. And that would be the biggest prize in Australian female boxing. That would be the biggest fight of all time, the most significant fight for the girls. Will it happen this year? Hopefully, because it's only not even the end of March, so hopefully that happens this year. But what else is happening? I mean, Liam Paro's got his title shot, Andrew Maloney's got his title shot, Jai continues with his stuff. But even, I mean, to match... for 2026 to one-up 2022, Kay versus Desley would have to happen. Both the Maloneys and Liam Paro would need to win, and Jai Patai would need to become undisputed. Or at least beat Zurdo Ramirez. At least beat Zurdo Ramirez. And here's the side note. I cannot believe the disrespect that Zurdo Ramirez is copping. I really can't. This is a side note. This was not the intention of this video, but I'm going to say it. Zurdo Ramirez has not one but 2 belts at the cruiserweight division, which for both champions that he had to beat, and he beat soundly. And people think that David Benavidez, who is a blown-up 168er, who has never fought a cruiserweight in his life, has only had, 1 or 2 fights at 175, is going to waltz in and beat Zurdo Ramirez like it's nothing and then go back down to 175. I can't believe the disrespect that Zurdo Ramirez is copping. I think it's a joke. You know, he's the number 1 cruiserweight in the world. Jai's not, because who's Jai beaten? An aging Brutus and a bunch of nobodies? Zurdo Ramirez has gone through not 1 but 2 legit champions to get his belt, and he's defended them. David Benavidez hasn't done fuck all at cruiserweight, and everyone thinks he's just going to walk in and piss all over him. Yeah, I don't think so. I think Ramirez will kick the living shit out of David Benavidez. But, I mean, people say, Benavidez is going to beat him. What do you base that on? He's never fought a cruiserweight. He's never fought a cruiserweight in his life. And 25 pounds is a lot of weight. A lot of weight. So I think the disrespect that Zurdo Ramirez is copping is absolutely terrible. And everyone's saying that Benavidez is going to beat him. They're talking like Benavidez is going to take the belts and not fight Jai Patai. It's like, based on, what do you base that on? Base it on what? The man's never fought a cruiserweight in his life. And you think he's going to beat a unified champion? Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, go back and look up all the achievements of 2022, guys. The Maloneys had some great fights. Lucas Brown got an upset. Tim Tszyu with his debut. Ebony and her belts. George and his belts. Shanika Johnson doing what she did at 122. An absolutely fantastic year. That's not going to be, hasn't been seen before, and I doubt will be seen again. I want to be wrong. I hope 2026, Liam wins, Andrew Maloney wins, Jai becomes undisputed. Tim somehow gets another belt at the end of the year if he gets through this Albanian bloke he's fighting, then Spence, then fights Xander Zayas, or moves up the middleweight and gets a belt there, one of the two, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, have yourselves a great day. Like, share, and subscribe as always. Tackle the ball, wrestler, crock, and yourselves the fuck up. and we'll see you another day.